Okay, folks, let's talk about Friday's episode of Beyond the Gates, and I will be officially caught up. So, I'm giving it a 10, even though it is a biased score, and I try to remain impartial. But the fact that Laura came after such a troublesome week of episodes, I gotta give props to it. Not to mention, I did enjoy the dinner scene at the country club between Bill, Hayley, Naomi, and Jacob, and Vanessa and Joey. They had some great scenes as well. Now, with that being said, let's dive in. We're over at Uptown, and Vanessa and Nicole discuss the upcoming Winterfest festivities and Danny's, current plans to go to LA with Andre. And they take a moment to both talk about how it's been a wild year with their husbands, with Nicole getting a divorce and unfortunately the untimely demise of Doug. So they lift a glass to their friendship because they have each other despite everything else they've lost. And Vanessa talks about how Donnell's been, calling daily since he got back to school. However, Deanna's having a rough time. So it's a bit of a stretch where, some professors have been patient. And Vanessa mentions that, hey, if you need, I can make a phone call or something. And Vanessa's like, no, I think I just want them to stick with it. No, you just don't want them to come home because you're too busy playing Madam Vanessa right now. And she mentions a family vacation will be nice, and Nicole says it will be good for her to be away from distractions, even though Vanessa already knows Joey was implied when she said that. And Nicole says that, hey, I'm here for you no matter what, even though I still see Joey as a predator rather than a potential friend to lean on. So Vanessa leaves, and that's when Martin shows up, and they discuss Samantha turning things around and how Smitty's helping him take a softer path. And Nicole laughs, mentioning that, well, when you're raising teens, there will be plenty more hurdles. So the thing is, as time gets on, they'll dive deep into making mistakes, and, hey, you still love your kids and give grace from time to time. And she's very proud of the children she raised and, hopes Martin will do a good job with the two he has. Now, that's when he's there for takeout, but they discuss his, outburst towards Kat. And he shrugs it off, but agrees to talk to her at some point. And it's funny because, he mentions how, oh yeah, you always protect Kat. She can get away with murder. Martin, now I know you would, never mind. You already know what I'm implying here. So they talk about Winterfest planning and how busy she is at work right now. And that's when he wants her help in stopping Smitty from making Christmas pie. But she agrees to stop by with her own pie to intercept his husband from making one. Now we go over to best girl Laura. She's over at Anita's place and another woman there. She's working on the centerpieces for Winterfest and discussing arrangements and how they could be part of the auction coming up. So after she leaves, Anita and Laura talk about having a backup in case Danny can't MC the event, which didn't she ask Bill to do it? Or I forgot. So they think about, it should be someone with a lot of personality. And Leslie comes in saying, someone looking for me? Laura is visibly shaken by her presence. And Anita rightfully asks, how did you get in here? Oh, well, since I'm about to move in next, across the street and I was in the neighborhood, I saw somebody, walking through the front door with their hands full and I just came on in. And the thing is, that's when she takes a jab at Laura. It's like, I'm surprised you trust Laura, considering all the how accident prone she appears to be. And that's when Anita can obviously detect Laura's uncomfortable, vibes around Leslie. She asks Laura to go into the other room to wait while she talks to Leslie. And she calls out how loud the construction is, but Leslie says that, well, I had to double down on the work. And that's when she offers herself as a tribute to Winterfest, but Anita says, we're actually fully staffed right now. And she lets Leslie sponsor the festival, though. But that's when we go over to the reasoning for it. And she's like, basically your name gets a star next to it on the program. but Leslie wants to know what she gets out of it. But Anita rightfully says, well, I mean, giving is its own reward. And Leslie's like, fine, I'm in. So that's when Laura comes around the corner and Leslie says, boo. And then, spooks her. And I saw people giving Laura a hard time. It's like, she's too easily spooked. She needs a backbone. Obviously she's still reeling from the accident she was in. And Leslie, in her own way, is her boogeyman or boogie woman. And on top of that, in terms of having a backbone, you have to remember she's Nicole's personal assistant who has been lent to work with her mom on Winterfest. So it's not like she could act unprofessional to unwanted guest in Anita's home. So back off my lady, okay? So that's when Anita asks if Laura's okay, and it's obviously she's shaken up. So she gets cookie and tea and says Leslie ought to be ashamed of herself being a grown woman picking on someone like that. And Laura thinks that it's hard because I got to get used to seeing her around. I can't be someone who just runs for cover whenever she pops up because she's one of the elite now. And it's disheartening because there's still no evidence that she was the one that ran me off the road. But that's when Anita believes that Leslie did it and caused your heart problems as well. And that's when Anita holds Laura's hand and vows to fight back for her. Glad someone does. Side note, Destiny Love, the actress that plays Laura. I made a post over the weekend on social media or on Instagram. Yeah, and social media. But she liked it and responded to it. And she is super sweet. Just wanted to say that. Now, we go over to the casino. And Joey confronts Randy about Mrs. Hamilton. And yet again, Randy cannot get his lies or stories straight. He mentions how the first time they met was the impromptu ride to the hospital for the miscarriage. And Joey says that the IT guys are experimenting with some new facial recognition software. Turns up, she popped up around here before the miscarriage. I believe you two were interacting when she was at the tables one time. And Randy assumes that, oh, well, it's probably some buggy software. And Joey knows he's lying to him and wants answers. And the thing is, Randy just cannot get his story straight, which again is something Joey calls out. He pretty much shrugs off Joey's concerns because, yeah, you two were at the roulette table. And look, come on, Joey. You don't expect me to remember every single beautiful woman I see rolling through this casino. And that's when it's like, look, considering Bill Hamilton is one of the most powerful men in this part of the woods, neck of the woods, the last thing I want is for you to get involved with his wife in an affair, and then the fallout from that lands at my front door. Because, hey, if it does, you know how I solve problems. And the solution for this one wouldn't be something you like. And then Randy walks out. And I'm thinking to myself, Randy, you're already on thin ice because you're lucky Joey let you back into his, fold. But of course, we know he talked to Marcel about taking care of Randy if he screws up again. So Randy lying to Joey, come on, man, you ought to know better. So Vanessa actually pops in and recognizes an old friend of hers, Steve. And they chat for a bit. He gives his condolences about Doug. And she's like, how's the family? And good, because I think they have like a horse ranch or something. But the thing is, Steve asked Vanessa to not tell his wife that you saw me here because she thinks I'm out bowling. So that's when a dealer comes in with some chips and Vanessa's upset because he took out a loan to gamble. Obviously, she sees Doug in what Steve is doing. So he claims I'm not addicted, but you're already keeping secrets from your wife. And you're playing dangerous games here. And you can lose that horse farm over a couple of bad plays. So what you need to do is stay home with your wife before he loses everything for good. And that's when Joey walks in, hoping there's no issue going on. But that's when Steve decides not to use the advance and heads home to be with his wife. So basically, Vanessa caused Joey to lose some business. Now from there, she's relieved, but that's when Joey has questions. And he doesn't like that you're running off my clientele. And she's like, I'd rather not prey on people who have addiction issues. And that's when Joey calls her out. But she tries to, reach for his humanity. I've seen the good in you. Donnell, Isaiah. And he's like, come on now. and there are limits to my kindness, and I like you. But she's tired of caring about men but hating what they do, and asks if Joey feels responsible for what happened to Doug. So they sit down for a bit and talk about it, and he mentions the business of the business in the game. Like, hey, I don't cause people to have these addictions. I'm just providing services. Same thing with you and the escorts, because he rightfully calls out. So you want to question my integrity when it comes to getting business from people who have problems, but yet you work for an escort. Well, you run my escort business, and it's like, hey, my services are providing clients with these escorts to spicing up their love lives. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I see what you're saying, but it doesn't sound better, because keep in mind, you're a sex addict your dang self. But then that's when it's like, don't make me ban you. Oh, you wouldn't dare, because you couldn't stand seeing me from across the room at night wanting me. If I didn't love you. This was probably my favorite scene in the episode, because Vanessa was on fire during this scene. Lauren just ate the scenery. I loved it. And he's like, say it again, make my diamond sparkle. I didn't say anything. You get under my skin, you're an annoyance, you're a distraction. One I can't seem to live out nowadays. I got work to do. So that's when he leaves. Now, over at, oh dang, I'm almost done. Holy crap. So over at the country club, Bill and Hayley and Jacob and Naomi sit down to catch up, and Naomi notices Hayley not drinking, and mentions how it's just in case because we're trying to get pregnant soon. So they chat for a bit. Hayley's upset when Naomi acts miserable, talking about the honeymoon that Danny and Andre are on right now. And she could tell that Bill is annoyed by it and says, look, we are happy for Danny and Andre. And, this is just another chance for Naomi to project. And she asked her dad about calling off the private detective on Andre because Jacob knew about it. And it's like, we don't keep secrets from each other. And then she's like, at least I don't. And Bill's face, I got to give it up. Bill can make some of the most memeable faces in the show. So that's when they discuss Derek and Ashley calling off their wedding, and Hayley says that, hey, you dodged a bullet because, the man was paralyzed, so Ashley wasn't signing up for a life of misery. And then that's when Naomi rightfully calls her out. So, what, you would have left my dad in a nursing home or something after his stroke? But that's when Hayley's like, I'm just trying to make conversation. No, you pretty much called out your vows meaning nothing. Sickness and in health means nothing to you. And that's when Jacob and Naomi argue about whether Derek was wrong for lying. And that's when Bill mentions Isaiah possibly being a candidate to date Ashley, which Hayley's like, no way. But Naomi's like, what? Oh, actually, it's just that she just got out of the relationship. And not only that, it was an engagement. So moving on so fast might not be the right move. Give her some time. And that's when they question how exactly she knows Isaiah. And the thing is, Hayley, she's getting too cocky, and it's going to blow up in her face. So they end up changing subjects again, and she shows the beach house in St. Bart's. And Hayley mentions how there's plenty of time. There's plenty of room in that beach house for all of them, including Chelsea Madison and possibly even our future child, your future sibling. And Naomi mentions a great purchase, and that's when a pop-up text comes up, and Hayley takes the phone away. So after they call it a night, Jacob and Naomi chat at the front desk and mention the text on the phone. Now, Jacob didn't see it because, it all happened so fast, but that's when Naomi noticed it was birth control. So they get home, and Jacob is questioning whether or not Naomi's going to tell her dad about it, which he rightfully calls out. What about telling, keeping secrets? Now, the thing is, Naomi, as hypocritical as she can be, I do agree she made a good point. If I try to blow whistle on Hayley right now, there is no doubt in my mind she has a contingency plan. Basically to shine her halo in order to appear as a non-victim and make me look crazy. And speaking of, Hayley tells Bill once they arrive home she wants to have a baby soon, but doesn't like to use the birth control her doctor prescribed for her hormone issues. And all she wants is to have kids. Now, Bill didn't know the meds were for birth control and urged her to relax. We have plenty of time to have kids. So they hug, and she tells him that, hey, you mean more to me than anything else. Now, yet again, we go to Uptown. Martin meets up with Isaiah there briefly because remember, he was there to get some takeout. And Isaiah introduced himself, and Martin remembers him from the wedding. Jacob and Naomi's wedding, and he's like, yeah, well, I matured a lot more since then, but I'm working as an academic advisor at a local university, and I had questions about, your intern program. And I like this conversation because it's one of those things where we get to find out more lore in regards to Martin's job and, the possibility to allow interns who aren't all political science majors. So that's when Leslie comes in to tell Martin that Anita invited her to sponsor Winterfest or be a sponsor for the event. And she wants to host a fundraiser at her new home once it's finished. And Martin, since he's been a sweet brother to Eva when Kat's been using her as a clawing post. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. So that's when Isaiah is stunned because, hey, you're Eva's mother. So they talk for a bit and Leslie realizes who he is. So that's when Martin leaves and she and Isaiah sit to talk about his job at the university. So from there, we go over to Nicole, who had left Uptown, and goes to talk to her mom, and they gripe about Leslie stopping by and poor Laura being afraid, and Nicole is rightfully upset. Now, Anita's worried that Leslie will somehow find a way to ruin the Winterfest event, and maybe security could turn her away. But Nicole mentioned that it's impossible, considering that you just offer her a sponsorship considering the event. And Nicole says that there's a way out. And she doesn't say what it is, but Anita knows and she's not happy to hear it since there is no better option. And that's when Anita calls to say that, hey, Leslie, we changed our mind and they'd love her to help out officially with the event as opposed to being just a sponsor. And that's when Leslie's excited and assures that you won't regret it. And Anita tells her that, well, I hope I don't. And that's when she does a little jig because that's one thing she's going to do. She's going to act a fool in public. So, folks, thanks so much for being patient with me. And I hope you checked out all 4 episode reviews. It is a new week and I do plan to be on time with my videos this week as much as I can be. Look, I'm trying to get stuff finished around the house to decorate for Christmas before Thanksgiving next week. So, like and subscribe and I'll catch you in the next video.